Alrighty. Good evening, Whale Coin Talk community. My name is Noah. I'm here today with Andy of MEXC Global. And Andy, before we get started, tell us a bit about your background, how you found yourself working in the crypto industry. Let us learn a bit about you, please.
Thank you so much, Noah, for hosting me. My name is Andrew Weiner. I'm the Vice President of MEXC Global in the English markets. I started my cryptocurrency journey back in 2016 on the regulation side with KYC and AML. At the time, I was working with the director of Thomson Reuters WorldCheck's Refinitiv product for AML. His name is Greg Penn. And we were using a lot of technology from the identity space, like Idology, Identity Mine, and similar, in conjunction with WorldCheck AML, Comply Advantage AML, and Dun & Bradstreet entity data to create a suite for what I had saw was likely going to happen to our business. Is at some point, banks, regulators, governments would be looking to reclaim the market share, the fees that they lost, and some of the tax revenue that was being usurped at the time by the industry. It was a very forward-looking bet back in 2016 that fortunately paid off when some of the laws and regulations went into effect. Now that we deal with things like travel rule, cryptocurrency frameworks, and vast registries, this type of technology is used by some of the world's tier 1 exchanges. It's also licensed by companies like KPMG, Hewlett Packard, Bank of China, so on and so forth. So naturally, with this type of background, an exchange, a centralized exchange like MEXC Global, was able to make use of this skill set as they expand into the English markets where things are highly regulated. You need to have good reg tech to meet all the requirements and to stay in good relations with those that allow this industry to kind of prosper and the partners that can bring in lots of liquidity. Yeah, that's me. And then I guess I can introduce MEXC as well.
Yeah,
MEXC.
I was gonna say, let's dive into the world of MEXC Global. Tell us the MEXC's origin story and all that good stuff.
Thank you so much. So MEXC was founded in 2018 by some of the leadership behind great exchanges like OKX, Huobi, Bybit, etc. And they built a platform that they said was, for traders by traders. The idea being, let's create the number one destination for crypto gem hunters and adventurers. Today, in 2022, we proudly serve over 7 million users in 170 countries worldwide. And we can attribute that success to community partners and customers, things like Whalecoin Talk and other platforms that have given us the ability to share and help people create their own financial freedom using an all-in-one services platform.
Right on. And go a bit deeper into that for us. What makes MEXC an all-in-one services platform? What are some of these services that you guys offer?
That's a great question. So in certain markets, you might be limited to spot or OTC services, but at MEXC, we've brought together the best of all worlds. We have ETFs, futures, staking. You can facilitate launch pads, M-Days, and Kickstarters for projects in incubation with MEXC. Everything from the trading side to the project side to even now NFT with our NFT index. We've tried to create a single platform that provides all the things that you might be looking for in fragmentation, that were not aggregated together at a single destination due to multiple reasons, whether it was just fintech or limitations around regulatory environments and similar. We are founded and based out of Seychelles, so we have probably the friendliest environment to be able to, aggregate all these services together to make it so one account can unlock the world of crypto for you. So you don't have to have so many different usernames and private keys and credentials across, a network of service providers. You can simply come to MEXC and receive that all-in-one experience from a single sign-up.
Right on. And I want to break down each of the individual components, everything that MEXC has to offer. I know you guys have a very lucrative affiliate program, so give us some insight into that, please.
Happy to. So at MEXC, especially when we're talking about English markets, your primary service providers are companies that charge 1% to 3% on the taker maker fee, which is quite high. They have very intensive processes to do simple things like fiat deposits and other services that aren't really that sophisticated. You shouldn't need to be an accredited investor to do. And they have very limited inventories at the competitors, listing at most maybe 500 projects and pairs in total. But at MEXC, we've tried to take an angle where it's very consumer friendly. Our trading fees are incredibly low. They start at 0.2%. On the inventory side, we have about 1,900 projects today, and the largest depth and liquidity spread for the major futures pairs, I think, compared to any other product in our space. And then finally, we have the most convenient sign up for KYC. When you combine all those things together, and then you add some incentives like deposit matching up to $4,100 bonuses of USDT for your deposit and trading on MEXC, make it a great place to kind of move your business if you are suffering from overpaying on fees, if you're suffering from seeing oversubscribed limited projects, if you're suffering from exposing way too much of your sensitive information to the warehouses and data centers of these competitors. It's a great reason to come over. And then you can also enjoy, of course, this variety of services and these great incentive bonuses to reward you for just giving it a try. We try to make it as easy as possible to not only be our customer, but to also be our partner. The affiliate program is wide open. If you are somebody with a community that needs support during the bear market, if you're looking to get incentives and values downstream to the audience that trusts and relies on you for quality thought leadership and education in the space, like the people that follow Whalecoin Talk, MEXC could be a wonderful avenue to get you into finding that next 100x moonshot.
And very specifically, Andy, I know that users can qualify for up to 100K bonus, or excuse me, 1K bonus. What are some ways that we can achieve at least most of that, or rather attain at least most of that?
So we tier the release of the different incentives based on first the deposit. So just sign up, make your deposit, make your first trade, enjoy a $100 airdrop. Once you start trading larger volumes, you'll receive another $1,000 airdrop bonus for futures. And then finally, once you achieve volumes of 100K or more, if you're the type of person that's doing very sophisticated longs or shorts or copy trades, you can enjoy an additional $3,000 released to your account. This is funds that are not locked up. You can use them right away. We make these incentives very clear with the table and step-by-step guide of how to get them. This is not a bait and switch like some of our competitors.
Andy, how have you guys been able to attract so many projects to your exchange? And also, how can projects apply to have their token listed on MEXC? What's the listing cost?
Fantastic question. So Catherine Deng, who leads the listing team, is very experienced in the field. She's been around the crypto space even longer than I have, helping to qualify projects, but also to incubate projects. MEXC has MEXC Pioneer, and with our capital partners, we're able to help incubate some of the things that may not be ready just yet for a full-on listing. And we can do things like Kickstarters and M-Days and some of these interesting launch pads that we utilize to get you that additional support, kind of take you the last 10 feet in your roadmap to get to that stage of, okay, now we should be listed and traded, openly amongst those 7 million traders worldwide on MEXC. There is a simple form that the guys here at Whale Coin Talk can forward to you if you're interested in following up after this this Twitter Spaces today to see if your own project qualifies for listing, or if you need support, incubation, or co-investment from the Pioneer side of MEXC because your project just needs a bit more development to get to that stage. Those opportunities are wide open. We try to make it very easy. It's a simple form. Once the review team has gone through the process, we can connect you directly with an agent who can give you an answer. And if it's not an approval, give you some feedback, some insight into how to better develop or prepare yourself to work with an centralized exchange like MEXC and to achieve, real scale in introducing that project to the markets worldwide that trade over $4 billion a day on our platform.
Kickstarter, very cool. I'm curious to know how many projects so far have taken advantage of the service you offer.
Genuinely hundreds. So at MEXC now, I think we've just crossed 1,900 total projects listed. We've incubated, I think, up to 500 of them through Pioneer. The idea being that MEXC, if we're going to put our own funds into it and put, that at risk, we're going to do that first before we ask our followers and our audience to do the same. We really put our money where our mouth is here.
And what if I'm a project that wants to utilize your launchpad? Is it the same sort of process as applying to be listed on the exchange or using your Kickstarter?
It is, because the review process will tell us kind of where you're at in your development and will help us better qualify what package of services would make the most sense for the stage of where you're at. So obviously, if you're coming from the DEX land and you have a very established community, you're still well under your market cap, and you just need that kind of like marketing support to expose something you've already qualified as high value, that's kind of one angle. But then for those that are a bit less developed, if you're in GameFi, Metaverse, or Web3, that's kind of the sweet spot for MEXC. This is really like even meme coins. That's the altcoin space that we've done really well in. At MEXC with the low caps, you can find a gem that can go 100x. And if your project wants to be one of those gems that reaches the moon, we're probably the first place you want to start. Also, Catherine's got a very efficient team. We get things listed faster than any of our competitors, and our marketing team pushes out excellent content to support your project to ensure that eyes get on it.
What kind of content are we talking?
Oh, stuff like this. We can get on lovely Twitter Spaces, Ask Me Anything. You can do YouTube videos with us. You can benefit from our network of influencer partners and affiliates like Whale Coin Talk, who would be happy to review and take a hard look at your project. We're all trying to ensure that these things are fantastic. We aren't just trying to list something for the sake of listing it that's worthless to us as a community. We're trying to create value for each other, and that's why MEXC is able to grow this fast. I don't know if our competitors have the same level of standards, but here we're trying to raise that standard globally, and I believe set the tone for how these things should be done in the market. Further to that, whether it's a campaign across Twitter, Telegram, Discord, it really depends on the project. There's different use cases. Is it a utility? Are we talking about something that's more kind of an in-game application? Is this a protocol? Depending on the nature of the actual white paper and the project itself, that might also help curb what avenue makes the most sense to put you in front of the right type of consumers. There are different various consumers in crypto, unlike the mainstream media who kind of lumps us all together in one category as Bitcoin hodlers. There are so many layers of nuances to what's happening in our ecosystem.
Andy, we have a diverse audience here, anywhere from newcomers to experts. So with that said, can you tell us very briefly, what is futures trading and why is it so important to the MEXC ecosystem?
On futures trading, you're able to perform your options, put longs and shorts to help indicate what you believe is going to be the future of any particular project in our ecosystem or stablecoin or token, etc. This type of information kind of indicates, the fear or the bull of the temperature of any particular stream or segment of crypto. And this information is like a signal outside of our industry to traditional finance, to the institutions who are all very aggressively collecting inventory during the bear market to put themselves in a fantastic advantage when the prices go back up, which we all expect them to do. Because I can tell you from the exchange perspective, this current market situation we're in, every metric that we use to measure the growth of the crypto industry is up, with the one exception is the price per coin. In a traditional market, like if we were talking about NASDAQ, we were out here in traditional finance, the prices would not be down if all those other things were true. So this is a very unique and unusual situation. I don't think that it's sustainably authentic because there's nothing to be afraid of in this business. We've got the world's largest creditor on the planet, who's got over 5 billion credit cards in circulation, has acquired the world's largest provider of wallet data and forensics intelligence. If this is a bear market, if you shouldn't be long on crypto, what are they preparing for with all that wallet data? They represent, these creditors, more money than the entire value of our ecosystem combined today. They represent $1 trillion each. And when they do get to the table and they start releasing their products and services like we've seen in South America just last week with the Argentina crypto card, you're going to see things go nuts. They have actuaries in the back offices of all of these institutions right now building sophisticated risk lending models for what they think is the all-time high of Bitcoin, which should be the stable price of Bitcoin, $60,000 a coin or higher. So when they get that inventory less than 30K, oh my God, the leverage that creates for their institution, the cost savings they'll have when they go from pieces of plastic to wallet addresses, there's so much coming. We're at the beginning of it, which is bizarre to think about, because who in this room on this call ever thought that they would be alive to see the next transformation of the financial system?
Okay, Andy, so much to unpack here, and I had these questions formulated and sorted towards the end of the AMA, but since you headed right into it, let's unpack this. When you say they, when you're saying they and them, who exactly are you referring to? Also, where are you coming up with this number of 60K? And furthermore, and I'm not concerned with packing multiple questions in one because you're very good at answering all of them. But furthermore, what makes you so bullish? I mean, what are these fundamentals you're referring to in the atmosphere that we're seeing that makes you so bullish when things have been so bearish from an economic scale of, with everything? I don't want to get too political, but what's happening with the war, what's happening with China's economy and their, their real estate Ponzi, and so many things happening in the world that is the Fed raising rates. Like, why are you so positive? Why are you so bullish when everyone else is so bearish?
Great question. So here's the thing to consider. Our current composition of cryptocurrency traders represent the types of investors, and this is probably more than 80% of them, that have less than $10,000 in holdings each. So when life becomes, like you mentioned, with all of these recession issues around a war and supply channels and rising costs of rent and food, when life becomes $1,000 a month more expensive, if you're one of those, let's say 80% that holds 10K or less, you probably need that money right now. And thank God crypto was there for you as a storage of value so you could even get it. So when all those people pull that money out of the system at the same time, unwrapping into fiat, the system's not designed to unload that much volume into fiat at an all-time high of 60K, which is what we saw just a couple of months ago. So that's kind of the first stress point in the system. When that happens, that's going to impact bot trading and algo trading and copy trading and lots of stuff in the network where people are getting their signals, and it will just create discounts on order book prices until you can actually hit that fiat number during that mass stress in the system. That's kind of point one. Point two is the theys, the thems. These are credit card companies. These are banks and wealth management firms and family offices that represent capital that far exceeds what all of us have already put into crypto. Now that's crazy to consider, that somebody could come double the amount of fiat flowing through our system with one point of entry. A lot of people don't talk about this. What they also don't talk about is digital transformation. The banks, the ones with the most money, and the creditors, the ones that serve 5 billion or more people each. Why are they digitally transforming their office? They already have digital banking. Why are they buying wallet forensic service providers? Why are they buying these APIs? It's to carry crypto. It's so crazy to think about. Now, you can't buy crypto at its all-time high if you're a lender. That makes no sense. You buy assets after the prices come down because you have some actuary telling you it's actually worth something else. And you start building your leverage and risk models around that. Now, being a KYC guy, and I'm trying not to violate NDAs here, but I worked on a lot of those back offices that provided the technology that they're using in their order books to make this all happen. There's a lot of banks out there that haven't even told their clients their paper share certificates are now tokens. They just say it's a digital representation of your asset. They don't get into the weeds because billionaires, that are having their wealth managed don't need to know the details. They're just looking at the P&L. So, these two things are just never talked about. We get into the weeds with each other about how we're feeling and the temperature of the market amongst people that, aren't whales. And it's a fantastically titled Twitter Spaces we're on today, Whale Coin Talk, because the kind of whale that's coming is different than the ones we work with today. And if nobody understands what I'm saying, I'm happy to unpack that further.
Please do. I would love to hear you unpack that.
All right, so the kinds of whales that are coming represent positions that will be billions. Now, there's not a lot of products in our ecosystem that are currently designed for a billionaire to invest $1 billion, get 10x on it, and then unwrap it a fiat. Can you imagine if Warren Buffett did that? But that's coming, and the banks are working on creating sophisticated products and services to kind of meet that pent-up demand. The word here is pent-up demand. Our industry has been so successful in creating value that we've proven to all these stuffy, stiff people, especially the mainstream media, that were so bare on us. They were so angry to see their market share and their customers coming to our space that they wanted to discourage it in every way possible. They don't benefit from it. But now that we've demonstrated to them how these products and service work, there's fintech that they can white label. There's already hundreds of millions of dollars that have been spent to get their back office ready to do instant KYC, to do ongoing monitoring of AML, to do transaction monitoring of wallets, and to do what we haven't seen really sophisticatedly done yet, transfer management of assets, which is really the only mechanism that you could use to ensure compliance end-to-end on the entire lifespan of a token. You see, something that happens in our industry right now that's also not really talked about is some issuers are not designing securities. They're designing utilities. And they're able to manage the issuance of that during the initial crowd sale and distribution. But once that asset hits that wallet for that person that's freely going to take this now maybe to a secondary market, how that person treats your asset on the secondary market could undo your intention. They could take your utility, they could take your stable coin, and they could go trade it like a security. And this is kind of one of the loopholes that people are falling into. We saw with the Coinbase lawsuit, 9 of those projects did not intend to be securities that were named in that lawsuit. And yet, because of how people traded them and treated them in the secondary markets, they have now passed the Howey test. So this is the type of stuff that I think that these new partners, these new TradFi people that are so interested in white labeling DeFi products, adding RegTech from CeFi, and then essentially marrying them together to create their version of TradFi and crypto is what's going to change the outlook and the trajectory of everything we're doing in this industry.
So you've identified a lot of dormant catalysts, if you will, right? The things that are happening, very bullish indicators that most people right now are not aware of. Would you say that is the primary reason that Bitcoin is trading so much? I think you projected 60K is trading so much lower than what its actual value is. And how is that actual value actually? How is that determined? Where are you getting the 60K from?
So I'm just looking at these order books and the charting of where we started to lose stability on what people were willing to pay for your asset in terms of liquidating you to fiat. That's really where the stress came from. And there was like a couple of weeks in a row where so many people were pulling out of the system at once that was just causing bots to discount themselves and kind of fight with each other, driving down the price almost unintentionally. And on the other side of this, had we already had these traditional finance type partners in the space, as opposed to them like ramping up to get the assets, if they had already been in the space, you would have been able to sustain those prices at those all-time highs. And then it would have been a fight now to just who can get the asset, because it's going to climb in that type of situation. But this is not financial advice. Do your own research. I should make sure that we say all these things, because this is definitely not me giving signals. I'm just very comfortable in being convicted that I don't think banks would waste hundreds of billions of dollars to implement technology when they hate doing that. They really hate digital transformation at banks, even for simple things. So create all that friction internally in all of your branches, all of your offices. I can't see them stopping in the middle of that and not going through it all the way to having the crypto.
Do you think banks implementing and adopting that infrastructure is more indicative of a CBDC or some sort of bank currency on the way that they're trying to integrate? Do you really think that they would want to make it easier for the everyday man and woman to invest in decentralized assets that we know and love today?
So that's a loaded question because each jurisdiction's tackling that differently. There's been a Coinbase recently published a little kind of heat map on where regulatory frameworks are in place, where travel rules are already implemented and being complied with, where AML and CFT restrictions and requirements are. And this is really informing how the banks are going to respond. So, my answer to that question in the United States might be very different than my answer to that question in Estonia, as an example. So I'm not going to pick that one apart. We would need a whole nother call for that. But what we're seeing is we've created a situation where we've taken so much market share, so much fees. I'll give you a figure. I'm not going to name the bank, but in Alberta, where crypto was doing very well, especially during the ICO, STO, IEO period of 2018-19, their banks used to lend $40 billion a year with a B to their partners in oil and gas. There were subsidies, there was so much revenue. Now, I think the numbers from 2020, but after that ICO period, the next year, they only lent 20 million with an M. That's 39.9 something billion dollars of revenue that has just left their ability to lend and leverage. It's gone to crypto. So yeah, they're in a situation where if they don't try to reclaim those fees, that market share, that cash flow, if they don't, put together, if the country allows it, a CBDC to make the whole process of just getting your fiat onto a wallet or into a digital environment that you can use to buy crypto and have a standard stable asset around it that really benefits the governments that have been losing these fees and those tax revenues back to the industry. I think that's kind of the framework that I'm thinking about. At the same time, though, I can't totally predict the future, so I guess I don't have the firmest answer on this one.
Right on, but when you break it down like that, it makes a lot more sense, and I'm able to wrap my head around what you're describing. Andy, it's quite clear to me that your outlook on the bear market is that it's not a real bear market. It's all smoke and mirrors. So I'm curious to know at a high level, and we can definitely unpack this based on your response, but where do you see the crypto industry in 5 to 10 years, and what are some important catalysts that you think need to fall into place in order for us to reach mass adoption? You've already described some of them, with the banks adopting all this technology.
Money is going to move faster. Right now the banks benefit from money moving very slowly because they can leverage it longer in the markets, the longer it's in their custody. Where we're going with things like, your own wallet, where we're going with things like, all these different exchanges that you could go, put your assets on, that in itself is like payment processing is going to be faster. Wire payments will be faster. I think that's something that we can't even calculate how it's going to impact the world yet. I don't know what it looks like when my bank loses 1 to 2 business days of leverage on the money that I have in their custody. It's just this data that doesn't exist today. But I'm very curious to see how that impacts things and how much deeper they get. Like, will they have their own blockchains? Will they have, their own exchanges within their ecosystems? Like, how many pieces of the pie, like OTC, et cetera, are they going to just try to do themselves to ensure that they kind of keep the consumers within their umbrella of companies? So that's the one thing. And I'm sorry, the rest of your question, because these are
certainly
complicated thoughts.
No, of course, yeah, and then just because you're such a great speaker, I try to pack them all in one sentence. But I'm curious to know what some important catalysts you find.
Right.
What are some important? Yeah.
Digital. This is the other side of this thought. In foreign markets, especially Southeast Asia, they've always had digital wallets. They had it before crypto. So if you were a consumer in those markets and you were traveling around Europe for work or around Asia for work, probably had won and yen and Deutschmarks and francs, and it's impossible to be doing the physical cash forex of that without tons of friction. So the digital wallets, they turn these different currencies into symbols, and you have them denominated in the wallet, and they've always been there. Very normal behavior for that kind of consumer in Asia. Crypto came around, it's just another symbol in that wallet. It's just currency from a countryless country that you would have to have had. So that behavior for that consumer was really easy to just kind of get into the space. It wasn't unfamiliar to them. But here in the West, especially in North America, digital wallet adoption is abysmal. The major payment processors, even coffee shops and their loyalty cards, they've had these things for years, and they're so underutilized and so. I don't even use the Starbucks card when I go get coffee.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think they're so? I wonder this myself all the time. I say, why can't I just go to Starbucks and pay for my coffee in USDC or even in Bitcoin or Ethereum?
As somebody that lived in the States for 16 years myself and did a bunch of schooling in there, I can tell you that we're a very tangible person, very tangible consumer. Americans like to touch, feel, smell what they have and know that they have and count it. And that's what cash is. You have in your hand. I know a lot of family offices and wealth managers in the U.S. that are still taking paper checks. You know what I mean? Like, and they're still, it's funny for some people to tap their debit and credit card still. Like, my own mother still inserts her card or swipes her card every time. She just doesn't use the tap, and it's totally turned on, and she could pay for. My mother never spends more than $50, so she could totally use it. But for whatever reason, that's the kind of consumer you have there. And, in the US, you always use US dollars. Even when you come to Canada, they rarely convert it to CAD. They just pay par at the counter. So that's an ingrained behavior. I can't explain it. It's been there for generations. And I've also found that Americans can be resistant to change, especially when that change doesn't come from within their own country. So these are kind of the things that make you an American, is to be very proud of what you produce and to participate very closely in supporting what it is that's yours and local to you. And crypto is the complete opposite. Crypto is this very globalized idea where we're going to bank the unbanked, where everybody is a brother and a sister and related somehow in the effort to make this happen. Like, we're a community that does not segment itself based on what some government said is the border of your country, whatever lines they drew around a map somewhere. We're very much so global. So with digital wallet adoption and some more knowledge and experience in the typical, North American consumer with using that as a medium for payments, a medium for trading, a medium for storage of value, and all sorts of other stuff, that's where I think we're going to see that huge curve up, like a hockey stick moment in the charts. I think that the metrics right now, you can't quote me on this because these might be outdated numbers from when I did KYC, but there were like 27 million KYC wallets in North America. That includes Canada, Mexico, and the US. And then there was like another 90 million unidentified addresses using DEXs and PancakeSwap and similar. So if we think, hey, the US is, let's say, 300 million banking people, Canada's got 30 million, Mexico's got another 20 or 30 million. We only have seen maybe 15 to 20% of the market adoption. So again, what does that mean when the other 80% of the market catches up and their cash starts flowing through our ecosystem? Could mean good things.
So you're quite obviously very bullish, Andy, and I wanted to tie this back to MEXC. MEXC is very bullish. You guys are building out the infrastructure and getting ready for what you believe to be the next big wave of cash coming into this market. What is MEXC doing specifically to be a proponent and play a catalyst and allow users in a seamless way to bring their money into this market, bring their cash on chain?
Everything we do in the business development side of our operation, as well as the operations side of the operation, is focused on being consultants. We're going to these conferences, we're going to the meetups, we're doing these talks, expecting people to give us the feedback as to how a business like ours can earn their loyalty if they're an existing customer, or what it is that we need to provide in terms of education or thought leadership to help convert them from crypto curious into a real crypto trading consumer. And there's a lot of costs associated with acquiring someone at either stage of that journey. Obviously, it's a much lower cost if you're already in the space and you're just looking for all the services you need. But obviously the cost is much higher if you're just kind of toying with the idea of maybe I should try this space out. Maybe this is a better way for me outside of like maybe mutual funds or other things that you might invest in to secure your financial freedom in the future. So, as we receive these feature requests, this client insight and feedback, we're able to go back to our developers and product team and enhance the product. We're able to go to the market making partners and the listings team and find the things people are really interested in because they're telling us. And I think that's a way better strategy than watching charts all day and making assumptions about where the market's going, which is happening kind of outside of MEXC. Not a lot of people are really listening to their customers. Not a lot of people are delivering great customer service. This is a huge gap in our industry. Time zone differences, language barriers. People are not, connecting with somebody in their country, speaking their language, who understands their problems in a lot of these situations. But MEXC has done a great job of filling that gap. So yeah, it's all about talking to your customers, listening to your customers, going back to the industry, being engaged with the communities, the conferences, the influencers, the affiliates, and just listening with an open mind. It sounds so simple, honestly.
So playing devil's advocate here for a moment, much of the world doesn't have access to just basic needs, yet alone a crypto wallet. I'd be curious to know how you see those parts of the world participating in this market and this whole banking the unbanked thing. How do you see that playing out over the next 5 to 10 years?
That's a great question. So leaders in really disparaged places like Nigeria, Tonga, even places, the Bahamas, where the economy is really down, they do definitely realize that with one smart device, you can now begin to bank a consumer who used to travel by bus or walk by foot or just have no access to some brick and mortar that could have been hours or days away from them. I think there was a use case recently out of Mexico, and we'll just talk about this like crypto for social good as a point. Mexican migrant workers were coming internationally to work agriculture jobs. They're being paid, money orders and cash in some cases. They go to the check cashing stores, they fly home. When they flew home, you had like criminals waiting for them at the airports and the bus stops. Organized crime was lifting the cash, lifting the paper checks, taking it directly from them. So what they did for a lot of these migrant workers is they created a wallet address for them. They're not carrying it around. When they get off the airplane, they're completely safe going home. These are some of the applications and use cases how we can do more with crypto other than just make money.
A few more questions on MEXC, Andy, and then I wanted to talk a bit more about the crypto space as a whole, the crypto industry as a whole, as we've been. You guys have some very unique fiat to crypto gateways. Can you give us some more insight into those, please?
Yeah, so MEXC has Swift, Fedwire, banks, I believe Plaid and WireX as well. Just fantastic third-party processors that can help you on-ramp with fiat. They charge very low fees. And again, they're providing access in places where you normally would have no path to get on our product and participate. I believe we currently have 170 total countries supported with that. And by October, we will also be unveiling the off-ramping component through the similar providers.
And where would you say you guys stand with respect to all your competitors?
Oh, I think we're number one. I mean, truly. It's really a combination of access to service, fair cost, and customer service. So if you can do everything you need to do as a consumer, get support when you need it, and do that at a fair price with MEXC, this is the best. When I think of the competitors that are close to me in volume, it's tons of friction to use their products. It's very limited in terms of the scope of what they offer. Many people are VPNing into their global products anyways. So they're not really nailing it on meeting the consumer where the consumer's at. And I also don't see a lot of my partners thinking of the little guys. They seem to be very willing to work with these major institutions and players to do things to kind of gather more inventory. Whereas MEXC is not kind of taking that angle. We're here fighting for all the gem hunters and the altcoin people and the regular trader to kind of ensure that they always have a convenient place to do this stuff affordably without being forced out of their asset or onto a product that doesn't meet their needs.
You and I have chatted offline, a lot about education, crypto education, blockchain education, the importance of it. Is MEXC planning on launching something like MEXC Academy sometime in the near future?
We have been hard at work developing a couple of different things, whether it's learn to earn or kind of like tutorials, but we do lean really heavily into our partner network because the best people that can educate you as to how the products function and how to best utilize them are the people using them every day, not just the people building them or the people promoting the service, but those that are in the foxhole. Again, this is why I'm so happy to be on your spaces today, because I get to speak with a bunch of people and share with an audience that actually has a lot more insight and education to how these things work than your leadership might in your local jurisdiction. And when you guys share that experience, when you show people how it is that you come to your conclusions and how it is that you essentially set your day up for trading and how you monitor the activity, those types of videos are so priceless. And we need more of that in our space. We need less shilling and more education. We need less promotion and more thought leadership. And you guys provide that very phenomenally, as well as a bunch of the other partners that we've chosen to work with.
Love it. Andy, I want to talk about some more generic topics now, things that pertain to the crypto industry today. What are your thoughts on the Ethereum merge? Give us a high-level overview.
So on the Ethereum merge, I'm probably not the best person for MEXC to comment on that particular subject. But what we saw with the previous fork is it brought a lot of new interest into Ethereum. I believe when we had the previous fork, that was when we saw the price ascend quite a bit. To discuss this subject, though, I feel like I'd be giving financial advice. So this is one that I would like to pass on.
No worries, no worries. And audience members, I always say this at the end of every AMA. Whale Coin Talk, we are strictly an educational channel. Everything you hear on this platform is for educational and informational purposes only. We never give financial advice. Nothing here is meant to be used for financial advice. So definitely always do your own research, do your own due diligence, only invest what you're willing to lose. This is a volatile market, and there's always risk involved in crypto trading. So I'll put that there, and we can move on to the next topic, Andy. I'd be curious to know if MEXC is planning, and this might be a bit out of far out, but is MEXC planning on developing their own DeFi platform, their own decentralized exchange, or even their own blockchain in the future?
Not at this time. There have been no announcements further to that. In our roadmap right now, we're really heavily focused on expanding what has been most popular, which is NFTs, Web3, Metaverse. Right now, we have the NFT index. Obviously, we would like to enhance that for consumers to give them another destination or alternative to, say, like OpenSea. And also on our roadmap, the fiat off-ramping in October, I think, is going to be really tremendous and just, again, streamlining the end-to-end experience from opening an account, making a deposit, doing your trading, and then if you want, exiting the position comfortably. That's where we're focused, making that user experience like real seamless. And end to end is a word I'm probably going to repeat several times as we continue this call.
What about a MEXC credit card? Is that something we can see anytime in the near future?
No, not at this time. Again, our partners there, or I'm sorry, our competitors are partnering with these giant institutions, gathering your inventory, and they're about to lend you your crypto back at huge interest rates. This is not a position that we're interested in at this time. I don't know if that's going to change in the future.
Sure. The MX token, we didn't talk too much about it, but curious to know what utilities it provides with respect to the overall MEXC ecosystem.
Now, the utility I use most often, and this is going to be a free plug for one of our partners, is the MX token is spendable on Travala. Travala is a phenomenal competitor to Expedia that allows you to pay in crypto and save quite a bit of money when you spend in the MX token. That is a wonderful place to go book your travel, book your hotels, book your flights, and even get in some tourism attractions. The team there is actively, canvassing the entire world to implement this type of payment processing for all those major hotels and tourist providers, as well as airlines. And then within the own platform, the MEXC token can be used for staking. It can provide you discounts on fees when you hold it. We have a whole package, if anybody's interested in more information on the MX token and its utility use cases, that I can send via PDF to anybody who DMs me after today's talk.
Perfect. Andy, I want to get your thoughts now on Bitcoin. Do you believe that countries should be adopting this as legal tender? What are some advantages, disadvantages, and challenges to doing so?
Well, my opinion on that is not so relevant. What I'm really interested in pointing out is there are countries, especially in South America and Europe, where they've proven that it's very smart to do. In Honduras right now, they have nationalized Bitcoin ATMs. In El Salvador, they've been in Argentina, like we mentioned earlier, they've been rolling out a lot of use cases for spending your crypto at the retail level in very fractionalized payments. In places like Estonia and Belarus and similar, they have the ZoidPay product. The ZoidPay debit card for crypto has been around out there for quite a while. And I can remember Andreas Antonopoulos and friends buying, just $5 in coffee and eggs with crypto at a counter, which was something I had never seen before until 2019. And those are all fantastic ease of application use cases that go beyond just buying and selling crypto for a profit. So with Bitcoin, the actual speed of processing, they need to improve. And I think that's kind of the thing to work on to support the scale of seeing that adopted worldwide and being used more and more often. But this is a great idea, as been proven in other jurisdictions. We just haven't seen it tested and tried in larger markets.
I'm going to get to audience member questions here in a moment, but Andy, is there anything about MEXC, and I can circle back and ask more after people have had an opportunity to ask you more questions, but is there anything about MEXC, I'm sure we haven't covered everything, or just the general crypto industry that you want to discuss and unpack before I go ahead and call on people?
I think we've hit the most important value propositions that your audience would be interested in on the different things in MEXC, being all in one, being very affordable, being very convenient, having all those paths in and off. So I think we could get to audience questions. I don't want to be a salesman.
No worries. Let's go. Let's go with Captain Levi first.
All right. Thanks, Noah. I actually have about 4 questions. Two are about the MEXC project, while the other two are concerning your own personal thoughts on some issues. So, the first question I have is that you said earlier that project owners can come and ask advice to find ways to improve their project's utilities, thereby making the entire project framework on its own better. Now, you said these projects can get support from your agents. I wanted asking, are these agents or affiliate members of the MEXC team, or are they externally contracted?
Oh, fantastic question. So our business development listings department has a number of professionals that have been working in the listing space doing review and analysis projects for years and years. They would be the people that I would be pointing you towards to assist you in evaluating where the project's currently at, what are some of the blockers, barriers, or opportunities that present itself for you to be qualified to work with MEXC. And then if it's within our sweet spot of GameFi, Web3, Metaverse, NFTs, and meme coins and similar, this might be something we can consider co-incubation of or similar. So if you have a project, there's a link that anybody can send you from Whale Coin Talk or personally from myself if you DM me. And once you fill that out, we will put you in touch with a MEXC agent who is a full-time contracted employee of MEXC.
All right, understood. Okay, maybe I'll be sending you that DM pretty soon. Here's my next question. You made mention of a tiering system for investors concerning when they are buying into your project. Will there be a tiering system applied to projects that want to come on your launchpad? I mean, most projects usually do this. And will there be a recommendation system for projects that have the best case utilities, especially from those that have gone through rigorous internal and external KYC testing and audits?
I actually think some of that question would be best answered by the members of the listing team, as it's not my department. I'm here on the public relations side of MEXC, helping to promote the products and services, as well as provide thought leadership on kind of the current state of the industry and what lies ahead. What you're asking is a bit more technical, but I'm happy to connect you with the right person. I simply don't want to answer something I'm not completely articulate on.
All right. So understood. Those are the two MEXC related questions. About these ones, you can feel free to express yourself as much as possible. You made mention of people panic buying, pulling their assets when a bear run is in place. And this affects or even alters the behavior of these holders and other holders. What silver lining did MEXC see that puts you guys on edge and at an advantage, and by extension, put the investors and MEXC traders and holders at an equally proportional advantage?
Great question. So in your blue chip space with the projects that are available on everybody's CACs or everybody's DEX that are oversubscribed and the market cap's really, really high. It's like you're talking about when that crashes, the impact is so much greater than if you saw an altcoin or a gem with a really, really low price and a really low cap get impacted. So, when the big dogs fail, when things start slipping on these very expensive assets that everybody holds, most consumers who are scrappy, who are very adventurous, who are hunting for the next win, the next game when that's going on, typically turn to altcoins, typically turn to low caps, typically turn to the type of asset that you may only find on something like MEXC.
All right, understood. Okay, here's my final question. One time I saw a post from CZ Binance where said he got from his credible sources that privately owned companies and other privately owned enterprise companies are buying into blockchain and crypto related technologies. I mean, you mentioned something similar where banks are actually doing their research on this particular form of technologies. What's your take on this? And does MEXC plan to use any of these anonymous centralization strategies to its advantage?
I want to actually comment that they're not just investigating. They've already completed their research. They are well on their way to implementing what they call the digital back office. You see so many other banks, their restriction from entering this market is the way they make KYC and AML was manual. They were literally photocopying IDs. They had AML officers hand writing out AML results. They had people Googling you for adverse media instead of using sophisticated APIs and tools like Thomson Reuters for Definitive and Compliant Manage. So that meant the processing for even opening an institutional account might have taken 6 to 8 weeks at your bank 2 or 3 years ago. But because of crypto and the types of things you need to do to identify people, secure assets in a digital market, to even apply transfer management of wallets, this is kind of where the banks had to start early. And they're very, very deep into those investments. I would say that most of them have finished this work and are just kind of waiting for the temperature and the price per asset to unveil and roll out what they've already built and modeled risk around. So I hope that answers your question.
Wow, I really appreciate your elaborate answers to these questions. I still have a few more. Maybe I'll be asking you those in your DM so that other people can actually ask the questions. I may have to listen back to this recording because I think I have a lot to learn from this. I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for your answers.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Captain Levi. And Andy, I think there's something going on with your mic on that last question. I can hear you, but it's kind of muffled. Let's go with Dreams next.
Hello everyone.
Hey, Dreams.
Yeah, thanks for giving me this great opportunity to ask my question. My question is, does MEXC operate globally? Like, can anyone use your platform services anywhere without any restrictions?
So we currently serve 170 countries globally, and you can create an account at mexc.com/register. I recommend that you use the Coin Talk referral link. Once you're in there, you'll select your jurisdiction. And if for any reason your jurisdiction disallows any products or services that we offer, you will not be able to access those. But because there's 170 countries we serve, to give you a list right now on this call would be very inefficient. Please DM me. Happy to send you more information.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for the question.
You're welcome.
Andy, I got a question from my founder, Andrew. He'd like to know what the largest hurdles for navigating global regulations are. What do you believe they are?
I think it's always been the privacy framework because it doesn't match what the expectations are of the reporting framework. Travel rule says you have to report the originator and beneficiary to each participating member of any particular crypto transaction. But with the globalized nature of crypto, the originators may be in jurisdictions that are not allowing in their GDPR and PIPA regulations for personal identifiable info like directors, officers, stakeholders, articles of incorporations, passport photos and images, and the info off of it to leave the country. So this is like a major hurdle. And I think digital identity, if I can preempt the follow-up question here, which is probably what's the answer, digital identity and moving your credentials and custody of your PII to you in your device, your hardware, like your smartphone or similar, is work that's in progress right now from a lot of reg tech providers that know that, again, there's this weird issue between one framework and another that prevents us from fully, adopting, implementing, and meeting those standards. It doesn't make any sense for a virtual asset service provider to set up a server in a warehouse and put somebody to manage it physically on site, on premises, in every single country the way banks do. That sounds like it's rife with risk for privacy theft. So this is kind of the obstacle that we're all looking at is how do you create scalable processes that still comply within the frameworks that exist. And when are the countries, especially the G20, if we just limit it to a few, going to harmonize their verbs and their definitions? Like, some countries I'm a VASP, in other countries I'm a DASP. Am I a virtual asset service provider or a digital asset service provider? These types of inconsistencies in legislation around the world are preventing from lots of businesses to just spin up a turnkey back office and get the license and go to market.
Let's go with David next. David, you had your hand up for a while, so let's get this question. David, you there, buddy?
He's just on mute.
I think so, yeah. All right, let's go with NFT Zone. He's raising his hand.
Hey, Zone.
What's up, NFT Zone? You on the mic, brother. Guys, you need to unmute your mics before when I call on you. Otherwise, we can't hear you. But give me a sec. Let's go with Crypto Cat. Crypto Cat, you're next.
Hello.
Hey, Cat.
In future we have like P2P.
Cat, your connection's unstable there. I can't hear you. Is that me or is that
Like in future we have
Yeah, it looks like they're having
Hello?
some issues with their mic.
Hello? Now?
I can hear you, but it's breaking up. The signal is broken.
Yeah, no worries. So, Andy, I know that we can't
Hello,
go
sir. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, we can. Zone, what's going on, man? You had a question?
My question is, MEXC future trading are mostly for professional traders. What about me as a new user?
Zone, can you try repeating that one more time for us, please?
MEXC future trading are mostly for professional traders. What about me as a new user?
Got it. So I think, and Andy, if you didn't catch it, I think he's saying that, futures are typically more for professional traders. What about for the average guy? Can the average guy get involved in futures trading?
Yes.
So that's a great question. So, depending on your skill level, you should be looking at products that kind of fit where you're at in knowledge. So, I would say like Spot is kind of a beginner product. A more intermediate product, maybe Kickstarter or Launchpad, when you want to support something that you think has a lot of viability in the space. Once you're getting into futures trading, you're basically saying that you can predict what's going to happen. So you better be an expert.
That's fair enough. Let's go with pro trading next.
And I'm happy to take this one last question. Unfortunately, I had the hard stop here at 6.
Perfect.
But love to hear from pro trading.
Let's go. Let's see if he's got a question. If not, I got one last one for you. Pro trading, you there, brother?
Yeah. I'm here. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Yeah. I just want to ask about the supplies of MS token. I communicated with one of your representatives recently, and I asked him about it. He said I should check there's this page, there's this link he sent me where I saw an update of about 3-point-something million MS token being burnt. Then I asked some of my peoples and made some research online. I found out that the main goal is to maintain the 100 million circulation. So my question is that still the main goal? I mean, is the goal to maintain only the 100 million in circulation. I mean, what about the rest? There are about 450 million supply. What about the rest? What's going to happen to them? And how soon? How soon is that going to happen?
Well, it's a great question. This is going to be in the MX white paper. We have articulated kind of the journey of the token in terms of where it was when we launched, the utilities it has today, and our plans for it in the future. I'm not well versed to read off script for that, but I'm happy to send you the resource. I believe I have your name here, so I'm going to go ahead and send you a DM, and yeah, happy to share that with you.
All right. Thank you. I've DM'd you before, but I haven't got any response. Yeah, I'll be glad to receive the message.
I'm going to message you now.
And another thing is, are you there? Hello.
I am. If we can, count for time, because I do have a hard stop for 3 minutes past.
Okay. In the nearest future, maybe in few years to come, when all the supply is the total supply is, I mean, the circulating supply is 100 million. In the nearest future, what are the benefits for people that has been buying for years? I mean, the holders. Like, I have a friend who has been buying BNB since under $5.
Great question. So the primary use cases of the MEXC token beyond Travala are in-platform use cases, things like being able to stake and earn rewards, being able to participate in the M days, which are very special listing events limited to holders of the MX token. We try to incentivize the holding and the asset and giving you guys really unique opportunities to utilize it in the ecosystem. That should gain in benefits as time goes forward. This is something that I believe it was up 2,000% from the last time we did the report, which was published at the beginning of this year in 2022. And as we continue to add partners to the ecosystem, because there will be more applications beyond Travala as we continue to grow our partner network, especially now with me leading the English markets. One of my primary objectives is finding more ways that we can get the MX token kind of leveraged and benefiting other providers and other strategic partners from this space. Quite a bit I'm not allowed to talk about just yet, as a lot of the stuff's under NDA. But I do think that the future is bright, not only for the crypto industry, but for MEXC as a company, MEXC Global, the token, the MX token, and all the partners, affiliates, listings, project teams, and traders who rely on us and trust us for great quality service. And with that perfect question to help us wrap up, Noah.
Andy, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day and joining us. I appreciate you going 4 minutes, 5 minutes over, and I appreciate you sharing all this knowledge with us. I'm very excited to have you on again, and I think you have a lot to offer our community, and I'm hoping that we can continue to work together in this capacity going forward. So thank you so much again. Enjoy your weekend, and if you want to leave us with a bang, go ahead and do so now.
Noah, you guys are such a pleasure. Your audience has really great questions. You've also prepared a whole bunch yourself that I really loved getting to answer. Let's all remember that my thoughts and opinions are solely those of my own. I work for MEXC and represent MEXC in a professional capacity, but today on Whale Coin Talk, you got some really raw insight into how I personally think and feel, especially my expectations for where the market's headed and where the market's at, some of the barriers, challenges, and obstacles we need to all tackle together as a community. And I'll leave you with this as a bang. The reminder here is you need to support, this for the audience, you need to support Whale Coin Talk, and you need to support everybody in our ecosystem that's providing us real, uninhibited, raw insight into what is really happening. There are no benefits to the hate clicks. They're not publishing FUD and nonsense. We've left that to the mainstream media. They're doing a very good job of trying to discourage all of us from continuing to cultivate, grow, and make better the best thing that's ever happened to the world, which is crypto. So I thank you all, and I leave you with that.
Thank you so much, Andy. Thank you for being with us. And audience members, remember that we do have a $100 giveaway. I've chosen 2 people by random. The first one is Clips0. That's at Clip0. And the second winner is Lucky Chan. That's at _Chan09. So if you guys want to collect that prize, go ahead and shoot me a DM in the official Whale Coin Talk inbox. That was MEXC Global, everyone. My name is Noah. I'm representing Whale Coin Talk. As Andy said, I'm going to mention this again. Everything that you hear on Whale Coin Talk is for educational purposes only, for informational purposes only. Always do your own research. This is a volatile market, so invest what you're willing to lose. It's been a pleasure, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Noah.